Hello and welcome to the Bell End Show. Jokes. It's the preview show. It's the preview show. It's Liverpool v Huddersfield Town. I'm Gareth Roberts. I've got Ian Ryan. I've got Paul Cope, and we're talking about Friday night football at Anfield. The odds on this are absolutely wild, I've got to say. I mean, every time, it feels like Groundhog Day talking about these Reds at the moment, because almost every game we go in, we're obviously the favourites to win it. But this time, well, OMG. Liverpool are 12-1 on. The draw is 14-1, and Huddersfield you can get 45-1 to win a game of football.
45-1?
45-1 on odds checker. I had to check. I mean, they are bottom of the league, of course. They are relegated. The manager's gone. They've only won 3 from 35. They've only scored 20 goals. They've conceded 69. They've only won 1 away, which was in November. They've only managed 3 draws, one of which was at Goodison Park. And last time they picked up any points at all was a win over Wolves at home in February. But all that said, and I know this was a different time, and we were just making a brew a minute ago, and Ian made a very good point off here, and so we'll repeat it here. He was saying it's not just about playing a team twice in a season, it's when you face them, isn't it? You know, like, so we're all fuming that United were shit against City, and then people are starting to talk about when we played them and we should have beat them and all that. But then you're like, but they were definitely playing better then than now. And that matters, doesn't it? But anyway, that's a show in itself. But Huddersfield, last time we played them, which seems like an absolute world away, in October, we struggled a bit, didn't we? And we only beat them 1-0.
Yeah, we did.
But we got there. Do you see struggling this time, or just have the bookies got it spot on?
I think they've got a spot on. I mean, 45-1 is wild,
It's
by
mad,
the way.
That's wild, isn't it?
There's never been
in a game
price
between
like
two
that
teams.
between
I've never
two
seen
teams
one
in the
like
same
that.
league.
No.
That feels like the highest. But you're right to reference the fact that it was a bit of a mad game, the game at their place, and we did struggle a little bit. I think Salah gets the goal, doesn't he? We end up winning 1-0. Did they hit the post late on? Did they might hit the post? Or there was a
Milner penalty appeal as well.
Yeah, so it
we were
wasn't
a bit lucky with.
It wasn't great, but they may well be in the top 3 worst teams ever to grace the Premier League. Let's have it right, they are fucking terrible. So yeah,
right up there with Swindon Town.
Sunderland had a really bad one, didn't he? Derby
like,
County had a poor.
Like down in September or something.
Yeah, so you'd have to go somewhere to beat that, to be fair, wouldn't you?
Derby had a bad side,
Derby were bad, so yeah, but the right up there is one of the worst. And I mean, when you watch Huddersfield, it just strikes me how bad they are in both boxes. You know, they're terrible defensively, and they've got absolutely no goal threat at all. I think there's lads in there like Hogg and Moyu who are all effort and application, and they give 100%, and they can put a foot in. There's a nice pass every now and again, but they just can't hurt teams. And in this league, they've been absolutely punished from day one, it seems. So yeah, you're right, Robbo. Liverpool, I mean, you shouldn't really have any formalities in a Premier League, but this very much does feel like a formality.
Copey, do you want to have a guess at this? When's the last time that Liverpool lost a football match to Huddersfield?
To Huddersfield? I love these stats.
What
when people are like,
is?
it's 133 years. And you're like, I'd always go, but how many times have they played in that time?
Copey, if you don't get this, you should leave right now.
So go on, you have a guess.
When was the last time they were even in the same league as us?
I don't want the, you stop putting me with
60.
questions, give me an answer.
See, that's the old lawyer in me.
I know, yeah.
Responding to a question with a question. 64 years and 8 months.
So what year is that?
I don't know. Don't make me do maths as well.
Give us a year. I don't want to do maths either.
we stopped for the war, didn't we? So 1947.
1959, November 1959, Huddersfield beat us. But as you say, we only actually played them 13 times.
Yeah.
Won 10, drawn 3. Huddersfield haven't scored in any of the last 8 games with LFC. And again, we're going back into like mists of time, like, a 1-1 draw at Anfield in 1962. I'm pretty sure that that's got no bearing on what we see on Friday night at Anfield, but it means it gives us something to talk about, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you know what? They are. I feel a bit sorry for teams like Huddersfield, because obviously last year was this incredible season, and I know a fella who's a Huddersfield fan, and it was like that's their dream. They came up. Wagner's this hero, but it's like with anything, isn't it? Like after a while, what Ian's saying there about you can't score goals. Something I love about footy, like elite footy gets analysed to death now, but at most levels of footy, including elite level, having a boss lad up front who can score loads of goals just boxes off loads of problems, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what they've missed for a long time. And you could see last year they were a good football team and they got through and they did really well. But without that lad who can score you 15 goals, and it's mad because when we were growing up, that used to be 30 goals. But I've said before, it's weird now how a lad who can score you 10 or 15 is a rarity in the modern game.
Well, you got that at Newcastle,
that.
haven't you? Because I mean, we still like to look at it and go, Rafa's done a fantastic job, and he has in the circumstances, to be fair. But at the same time, though, you kind of think if Huddersfield, in a different world, if Huddersfield had Rondon, they'd probably have a few more points on the board, you know what I mean? Because it's someone in the box who's awkward, horrible, causes you problems, whereas you're looking at this side and you're a bit like, I mean, you know, even the punches chance that any team's got where you think, you know, they could have a shot from distance and it goes in the top bin, they could get one off a corner or whatever. Yeah. You know, with Liverpool having this 38-game unbeaten record now in the league, it's just hard to see it happening, isn't it?
Yeah, well, on that point, I could never... I always think in footy, like, you should be on the phone to your mates when you need to. And I couldn't believe that Wagner wasn't on the phone. And maybe he was, saying to Klopp, can't I have Origi or Solanke? Because Origi or Solanke for them, probably playing every week, gets 10 goals. And it's something that baffles me, really. There are players out there who can do it, and I don't know, they just seem to not... When you mention Rafa there, loads of people just didn't want Rondon, did they? And Rafa's taken him and gone, I can do something with him and turn him into a weapon. But yeah, I mean... Where's the threat? They're a team already. I've mentioned this, I'm back for doing articles today. They're a team already, just can't... You can imagine their players going, can't wait for this season to finish now. Yeah. Just can't wait.
The classic on the beach.
Yeah, they're not coming to Anfield thinking, oh wow, we'll get a big result at Anfield. They're coming thinking, I hope we don't get absolutely battered. And I don't see how you could put any manager in charge of them now. And to get that gang of lads up for a big game where they're playing this Liverpool team and they know they're just going to have 90 minutes of, even if they hold on for an hour, then the last half hour is going to be an absolute nightmare for them.
But even their fans, I mean, it must get to the point now where they'd rather just be in the Championship and winning football matches, because, I mean, I watched the Manchester derby last night and I thought to myself, there's no fucking bad lads watching this United team, they're fucking shite. But imagine watching Huddersfield, 27 defeats in a season.
And imagine you go home and away. I mean, you know, we all love an away trip and it's a great part of being a football supporter, but, you know, Huddersfield haven't won an away match the last 11 in the league, drawn 1, lost 10. They failed to score in 8 of those matches. That's pretty shit. And it's like, you know, and I get the idea that, you know, you sort of go into a ground and you're still getting an experience and you're sharing an experience with your mates and it's nice to have a pint and all that. But I can remember when we were shit, given not that shit. And it was grim. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You know, the Hodgson days were grim, you know, getting beat by Blackpool and Wolves and, you know, whatever else. It was great, and you know, going to Goodison and your manager saying it's utopia if you manage to get a result there. It's Goodison, lad. But you know, that was horrible. A grim time. People arguing in the stands and all the rest of it. I mean, I guess Huddersfield haven't got the same standards.
Yeah, of course.
Very happy to be in the Premier League and survive a season, I guess. But this season it must have absolutely toiled for them.
Yeah, and the manager's now going through the motions, isn't he? Suppose he'll be preparing for next season, and he'll be looking at his players and thinking, which ones can I take along for the ride in the Championship and which ones have I got to get rid of. But from a player's point of view, I mean, they can have the best of intentions, but the minute Liverpool scored a goal on Friday night, everything goes out the window again, and they'll have that sinking feeling where they know they're probably going to be on the end of a real hard. And that's what you see happening, to be honest. I mean, you know, if you flip it the other way, Liverpool are great in both boxes, let's be honest. You know, we don't concede goals, and we score plenty as well. I mean, I think Huddersfield conceded nearly 70 goals, and they've scored 20. I mean, that's absolutely outrageous in the top flight. And Kopi's right there. You know, someone like a Rondon probably would have got them a few more points. Whether it would have been enough to keep them off, fucking hell, sorry. But whether it would have been enough to keep them up, you suspect not, because again, they just leak so many goals. They haven't got a great keeper either. And you feel a little bit for the manager who's come in, because he's on a hard to nothing. He's got to prepare for next season. And maybe they've got a chance of coming back up. But I always felt, no, they didn't really invest properly in the summer in terms of what you'd see as proper investment to stay in this league. And there's a few like that. You know, credit to someone like Cardiff. They've somehow managed to hang in there when I thought they'd be well down by now. But yeah, tomorrow night, Robert, we can only see one winner, and you can see a bit of a landslide, if I'm being honest.
Well, Huddersfield have played 5 away to the current top 6. This is the 6th one, obviously, against Liverpool. The aggregate score is currently 2 goals for Huddersfield and 19 from the other team. So as everyone's saying, it does look like it should be an easy win for Liverpool. But what can Huddersfield maybe do to try and upset Liverpool, to try and put a spanner in the works? Here's Neil Atkinson with the tactics.
Huddersfield turn up to Anfield, bottom of the table. We know this. Interesting thing, sixth highest, in the table for final third, winning the ball back, which is something that Liverpool are going to have to pay close attention to. What are they going to do? Grant's going to be up front. They bought him to play Championship football next season. They'll use Moy there, Kachunga and probably Mbenza there. Hogg will be in centre midfield, I would have thought. Other one I've got over here, I've got my notes there, you can see them, Bakuna written down. Schindler and Congola will be in the middle there, probably Derm there, and maybe Smith. Lossell back in goal. It's not a good side. It's a side that's now become a Championship side and which is being built to play in the Championship next season. It's hard to preview it really. Liverpool should have far too much for Huddersfield on the night, but then sometimes cup sides in the third, fourth, fifth round of the FA Cup come to Anfield and get a result, however strong Liverpool go. Liverpool will have to be on the metal, and as I say, Huddersfield are good at winning it back high up the pitch. It's something to watch out for, but the Reds should just have too much.
Nice one to Atco there. There was a comment on the YouTube channel the other day, on our YouTube channel, that made me laugh, and it was, it just said 11 changes for Huddersfield. 11 changes for Huddersfield, and it was like, almost like you can throw anyone out there, like, throw a kit on all us and we go out and get a result. No, we wouldn't. I know. I'm shit, okay. You don't have to tell me. But when we played Cardiff, this is the lineup. Alisson in goal, Robertson, Van Dijk, Matip, Alexander-Arnold, Keita, Wijnaldum, Henderson, Mane, Firmino, Salah. What we know up to this point, and there's press conferences going on this afternoon and stuff, but what we know up to now is that obviously Fabinho went off with the head injury, maybe won't be risked because of that, we'll wait and see on that. Lovren and Lallana down is currently doubtful, and Oxlade-Chamberlain still not fit enough
Lovren
to be.
doubtful? Fuck off.
I know, yeah.
What happened now?
Who knew? But given what we do know and given what the lineup was last time, are you with your man on YouTube, 11 changes, or...?
I wouldn't be going 11. I think the manager's got a little bit of licence.
We have obviously got Barcelona coming up, and they've been resting their players, by the way.
They have as well, but I think you've seen at times this season that a lot of these lads like playing in rhythm, and I think they like playing every 3 or 4 days. So I wouldn't be going anywhere near 11 changes. You've got to see, regardless of what we just said earlier, you've got to take it seriously. The manager will not get complacent at this stage of the season. But I think you can make a case for doing certain things. So if I look at the fullbacks recently, I think there's definitely a case for resting the fullbacks. I think Trent in particular has looked leggy. You've got to remember his age, and obviously he's played a lot of football this season. You see it in the Cardiff game first half, he's getting outrun a lot, and it's just a matter of he's played so many games. He looks like he needs a breather. It makes loads of sense. Andy Robbo as well. I mean, you can do stuff for fullback, and I think Joe Gomez probably does need some minutes now. The manager will have an eye on Barcelona. Now, I don't know whether Joe Gomez is going to be fit enough to play in a game that size. I'd like him to be involved because there's no doubt he's one of our better defenders. I don't think the manager would risk putting a Gomez in at centre-half against Barcelona, given that Matip's doing okay. I think if Gomez was fit, absolutely he'd start there. But he might have one eye on doing something with Joe Gomez at the Nou Camp at full-back if he thinks he can get through the 90. So I think he'll play against Huddersfield, and then you can just put Milner at left-back, and everything will be all right because, as we've said before, Huddersfield haven't really got a threat. So I think we can afford to make those changes. The Fabinho one, give him the night off. If there's any doubt with his injury, with his head issue, give him the night off. And we've got lads in there, you expect Keita to come back, and he'll be played against Cardiff, I should say. We'd expect Keita to maybe get the 90 in this game as well. And then I think he will just go strong up top as well. I think he'll just want to put the game to bed, and then he can look at doing something on 60 where maybe he brings in a Origi on or brings a Sturridge on and looks after the legs ahead of the Barcelona game.
I was trying to find online, and I'll sound lazy now because I couldn't be bothered actually going through the lineups of every single Liverpool match and writing it all down and working out. I was expecting there to be something online that told you how many changes we made from match to match. It's not there. There's a gap there for someone.
Niche in the market there.
Yeah, there's a gap there
Business
for someone.
opportunity.
But in general, I'm going to have to try and rely on my generally shit memory. But the only time I can remember him going mad with changes is Wolves in the cup, and it obviously didn't really work out. And other times as well, where he's tried to change little things, like you see a Origi get a start in Porto, doesn't really work out. And so you wonder whether it eventually becomes a bit averse to the idea and just thinks, well, these are the lads. And we are going for a title here. I mean, there'll be people, I'm sure, who are watching this and going, lads, you're jinxing it. Lads, you're too laid back. Lads, we still got to win it. I get it. But this is a professional group of people that have, 35 games in, only lost one. The idea that they suddenly go mad and can't get their heads round how to beat Huddersfield, you can't really work that out. But what where are you on it? What do you think? Loads of changes, or just play the best team, get it done?
I think any talk of 11 changes or anywhere even approaching that is crazy. Like all this stuff we're talking about it should 45-1 for them to win, 12-1 on for us. That's for our first team. Yeah. It's as simple as that. We can't afford at this stage of the season to be making loads of changes. And with Ian on the fullbacks, you can even without Klopp's comments of them being knackered, you can see it with your own eyes. When Trent was running on sand last week, and I'm like, who's this? I'm literally standing watching the match thinking, who is this winger for Cardiff?
Fucking hell.
But then afterwards, I was like, oh, it's.
To be fair, he was goose second half.
Yeah, after that run. But you could see it in Trent. It's that thing where it looked like us running. And there was a moment second half with Andy Robertson where I said to Neil watching the match with him, he looks now like we all look after playing five-a-side for 40 minutes, where your head knows what it wants to do, but your legs are just sort of like dead pieces of wood swinging underneath you. So I think at least one of them has got to be rested. I don't know whether he'd rest both at the same time, because we're so reliant on our attacking fullbacks to break down teams, especially at home, that it might be a risk to rest them both. It might be more a case of, leave Trent out the starting lineup and aim to have Robertson off on 60, something like that. But as for the rest of it, we've seen all season the midfield rotates naturally anyway, so that's going to happen, especially if Fabinho's not available. You've got to do something with that, and Fabinho can then play against Barcelona, you'd hope. And then the front three is usually the front three. I don't see him doing anything wild with that, because do we play Wednesday against Barcelona? So it's actually a really nice big gap between this game and that anyway. So yeah, I'd see maybe 2 or 3 changes as sort of a natural rotational system as you would usually do, but there definitely won't be wholesale changes.
There's the Friday night aspect, of course. Friday night football is quite nice, I think. I think it's, you finish work for the week type of thing, and then you get to go to the footy and have a pint and all the rest of it. And, it's under the lights and it feels quite nice. And Liverpool have won 4 of the last 5 league games played on a Friday. The only sort of blot in the copybook job there is Leeds beat us 2-1 in 2001. Mo Salah seems to like Fridays as well. He scored in all 3 of his Friday games for Liverpool.
He's back in New York.
Yeah, he's
back. Last time I saw him, he was smashing 2 pizzas.
I
had any chance to get him back?
I saw that. As soon as I saw that picture, I thought, there's no way he's touching them.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as that picture's taken, someone's just pushed them away. Yeah, you eat them.
But, thoughts generally on the Friday footy, how do you feel about it?
I like it, I like that. I mean, from our point of view as well, it gives us an extra day's rest, doesn't it? I mean, you can't...
Who the Anfield are?
Yeah. Don't we? You know what I mean? But you can't kind of play down just what a huge fixture it is still. And I know there's a bit of doom and gloom after last night's Manchester derby. From me, absolutely from me. Yeah, I'm finished with it all, to be honest. But you've got to remember that we have still got a chance. And I had to talk myself into it this morning, to be fair, because you watched that last night and you think, well, we're just running out of games now, and maybe you've got to make your peace with the fact that you could get 97 points and not win it, and that's going to take some fucking getting over, by the way.
You just need them to draw. They don't even need to get beat.
It can happen because, I was saying to me mate the other day, Burnley and Leicester are the weird football teams where if you catch them on the wrong day, for different reasons, they can cause you problems. We've seen it with Leicester ourselves, we've seen it with Burnley in the past. But there's no doubt we've got to make sure that we push them, that they have to get 98. We can't let anyone off the fucking hook here. We've got to make sure we do our bit. We get 97 and you see where you are. And if it's not enough, it will be. I think it will be a tough one to get over. I know some people will say, we're great and we've got a side there that's going to remain intact for a long time and we can just go again. And all that's true, but it's an endurance test, isn't it, a league season? And to come so far, to be so good, just to fall slightly short will...
We don't know that's happening
No, absolutely,
yet,
no, absolutely.
Come on, live in the now.
But no, you remember after Kiev and, that cup final, and the cup finals are different because it's a one-off game. When we got on the bus on the way home from Kiev, lads, we were flying, weren't we? You know what I mean? We drank enough spirits to sink a fucking ship, and we signed Fabinho on the way back. We had that steak, one of the top 3 of all time. I loved it. We had a great time, and when you get over it relatively quickly, I think a league campaign's a little bit different. But you're right to say, weird things can happen in footy. Brendan has got a part to play. Maybe I always think Leicester are a really funny team, and maybe City just take a breather now and go, we've got through that really tough bit. and psychologically it feels a little bit different for them. So there's absolutely loads to play for, but the point is we've got to do our bit tomorrow. We've got to do our bit against Newcastle. We've got to do our bit against Wolves.
Absolutely, but I think as well, I wasn't going to do this, but let's just do it quickly. I think as well in that game against United, you know, United are shit, and that's fine, and we know that, and let's all have a big laugh at them and say it's brilliant that we're not them. But in that game, there are chinks of light there for me still about, you know, you see Company absolutely taking out Rashford, taking the yellow, looking uncomfortable with someone with a bit of pace who can get behind them there. You see the fullback get booked as well. You see United have chances. And Spurs, the Spurs game as well, they obviously go out of the Champions League to Spurs, but in the league game looked a bit nervy, looked like it maybe wasn't going to come at times, looked like they might concede. So it's still there. It's not like they're winning, and they're brilliant at winning, don't get me wrong, and hats off if they get 98 points, brilliant, well in. But I just think, you know, the idea of waving a white flag now and sort of telling yourself a story that it's all over, fuck that.
Yeah, it's crazy, mate. And I've literally written, everyone go and read the article. You need to go and read it as well. about hope and 3 games left and everything that can happen. And I mentioned this in a piece the other week about when they won their first league title with the Aguero goal. There's footage. I was away at the time watching it with my mate who's a Man City fan, and United's game had finished, and they're all patting themselves on the back for a league win because they think they've won the league. Yeah. It's after the last game of the season has finished that they lose. I know, it's hilarious, but that just shows you how late this can go. And the reality is, we play they've just won their game in hand, but we play our next 2 games before them, so they keep having to have this game in hand, and they're not easy games. I said before the United game, Burnley's a tougher test. You don't want to go away to Burnley. And I know all the doom-mongers out there will find all of the negatives to focus on, and they'll say Burnley are safe now, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Burnley and Sean Dyche want to end this season well, and they like to show, because he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he likes to show against the big boys what they can do. It is.
Yeah. And their fans.
You saw what they could do against Chelsea. Yeah. And the style of football that Burnley play, with Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood up front, plus we've got the Peter Crouch diddle that's potentially on the cards. Then you've got the Brendan Rodgers thing. And to be honest, even
then you've got Brighton.
This thing, I'm going the other way from having, I'm building up hope the other side, because I'd written off the Brighton game. But after Brighton playing Spurs the other night, I was like, and did you see Guardiola after the game last night where he was saying about us and saying, in fairness, we both deserve to win the league? Even he said he hopes Brighton are safe by the time they go there. So that's in the back of his mind.
He also said as well that he wants his players to not look at the television, not look at newspapers, not look at the internet, all this kind of stuff. It tells you that he knows that the pressure's getting in there. It's in their heads as much as anyone else. And listen, only 2 sides can win the league, Liverpool and Manchester City. So what a place we're in. And we've still got a fucking
And we can keep saying, oh, they're relentless. But they're looking at us going, oh, God, they're relentless. Yeah. And if we win on Friday night, or when we win on Friday night, it's again back over to them. If we beat Newcastle, it's back over to them. They've got to keep doing it.
The key word there is pressure, because that's something you don't always factor in. So even though on paper those games look very winnable for City, when you factor in the pressure bit, and everyone can kind of fall foul of pressure, can't they, at different times? It only takes one mad thing to happen, and the game suddenly changes. You know, Vincent Kompany gets sent off in a game, for instance, which could easily happen. Yeah. The game can be very different. And I think if Liverpool were going to Burnley and Leicester, Leicester at home, I'd feel a little bit of trepidation with those games. So there is that. I think sometimes we just look at it from our perspective and think, oh, well, that's easy. They'll beat Burnley, they'll beat Leicester. But if we had Burnley on Sunday away, I'd be thinking, fucking hell, that's a banana skin. And then Leicester with all the pace on the counter-attack, just waiting to kind of soak up all the pressure, then hit you with all the fast lads. So there's that as well. So, last night was in a bad place. I'm not going to fucking lie to you. It was in a bad place. But you wake up the next day, you think, actually, there's a chance. There's always a chance. There
just seems to be loads of little bastards in that script. You know what I mean? Like Vardy and people like that. Yeah. They're not giving up. Vardy would love to upset the party and do his celebration. You can tell he's that type of fella. Equally Burnley, they absolutely love upsetting people and causing a problem. So let's see what happens. Let's enjoy it. Let's live in the right now, because right now Liverpool are boss.
I'm with that. And a positive to take out of last night is it stopped the run of City just after 5 minutes. I was saying to my mate in WhatsApp group, this is better than I expected, because at least it's a game where they haven't gone 1-0 up after 5 minutes. Exactly. And I'm sure I saw a stat last night saying how many games they've won, and they haven't even been behind in a game. Well, let's see what happens if they go behind to Burnley. Let's see what happens if there's a ball lumped into the box and they've got to deal with this test and Burnley score against them. How do the Reds feel with that?
Well, when they have been behind, they've either lost or drawn. They've not gone on to win it. It's only happened twice, you know what I mean?
Whereas we're we've had that test so many times now and come through.
Leicester have already beat them as well. So look, loads. We've talked it right up there. Listen, go to Anfield on Friday. Enjoy yourself, or if you're watching on the telly, enjoy yourself. Be positive about the Reds. Tell all the players that the boss. Be nice to each other as well. Stop being bellends on the internet. What's the point? We're going for a double here. There's no time to be a bellend to each other. Just be sound. Just rejoice in the fact that we've got a fucking brilliant football team to support. We're going to finish this week with an inside tour. I don't know who it is, but it'll be someone who contributes to the Anfield app, and all our contributors are brilliant. So up the fucking Reds. Get in, we're going to be Huddersfield.
Fulham. It's basically really nice. It's on the river. It's a nice part of London. There's some fantastic pubs nearby, and it's got the added bonus of being close enough for me to walk to from home. It was Smitsa in Istanbul, simply because it was when you went, hang on, this match isn't dead at all, and when you think of things that get the blood pumping, it's basically that. Same kit, the kit they scored in that 2004-2005, just because you see it and you think of what happened on what was just a ridiculous night. Genuinely have no recollection. It was about 4, maybe 5. My dad took me. He doesn't know. I can't remember. So we are where we are. So there was Birmingham away. I think it was just towards the end of Houlier's reign. We were in a police escort being walked back to New Street Station by West Midlands Police, and over the other side of the road there was a Birmingham fan trying to do that thing where he's all big and hard behind the line of police, and he's walking backwards, and there's a policeman looking at him going, stop what you're doing, and he's arguing with the police officer, keeps walking backwards. Next thing you see, he's fallen straight down a manhole in front of about 200 people. Eden Hazard, just simply because I think he saves his best for Anfield, which is very annoying. He goes missing from time to time, never at Anfield, and it's just very annoying, and he's also very good. Generally Town, getting a taxi sort of 45 minutes before kick-off, straight up the ground, and then in for about 10 minutes before kick-off. Paul Konchesky, simply because he summed up what was just a horrible time, footballing-wise, from top to bottom of the whole club.